Morally gray men or golden retriever?
Do I have to choose? I wrote her when I needed somebody to show me, oh, how can you be resilient? Now, it's a fictional world, it's a fictional fae realm, but this is where we can explore hard topics.
I'm excited to spend some time with this sentiment in now.
I'm so excited about this in. Tell me more.
So there's
cool.
lots of fun. Lots of fun in store.
Hi, and welcome to Romantasy Remedy. I'm Whitney.
And I'm Kenzie. We're sisters-in-law and book besties who thrive on daily doses of magic and romance from our favorite fantasy stories.
So, if your emotional support animal is a dragon and your therapist has shadow powers, you're in the right place. Thanks for being here and for liking, rating, and following our show.
Before we get started, this is our official content warning. Simply put, Romantasy Remedy is a podcast for grown-ups. The topics and language will reflect that. Please listen at your comfort level.
Thanks, Kenz. And we don't have a spoiler warning today because we are interviewing the one and only Tabitha Slick. I wanted to introduce Tabitha first by reading her bio from her book, Blood Bordeaux. Here it goes. Tabitha Slick is an enchanting fantasy author who masterfully explores paranormal romance, dark fantasy, mysteries, and the magical world of the Fae. Her imaginative storytelling and beautifully crafted characters grip readers from the first page. Within the Transition universe, she has penned numerous books, including the exhilarating Tompkins School series and the eagerly awaited Beast Hunter from the Fae romance realm. With a background in linguistics, Tabitha has a passion for language and literature that drives her captivating narratives. When not writing, she enjoys exploring new destinations, cherishing loved ones, and devouring novels and coffee while learning how to sew clothes from scratch. Welcome to Romantasy Remedy, Tabitha, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you.
I'm so excited you're here.
A couple things stood out to me in your bio that I want to ask you about real quick. First, you sew clothes from scratch. I'm super impressed.
Yes, I will say that it's only been in the last 3-ish years. My mom is the expert, and I've been trying to glean everything I can from her. So I've sewn vests.
Ooh,
The clothes that I sew from scratch have been vests so far.
that's really cool.
More than I've ever done. I'm impressed.
Yes, and I was about to say vests are kind of having a moment right now. They're kind of coming back. So that's awesome. I was just telling somebody the other day, I don't know how I haven't learned to sew because I'm only 4'10" and I constantly have to go get things like hemmed and altered. And I'm like, why haven't I picked up this life skill of sewing yet? It would have saved so much money.
Yeah, I've taken
So
some
fun.
things to altars, and it does add up. So yeah, that's a
It
skill
does.
that's useful.
Yes. And it's a lost skill, so it's so fun that you're bringing it back and learning.
Yeah,
Trying.
so cool.
I'm trying.
So cool.
That's
Love
awesome. Yes. Well, we're so excited for you to tell us all about your journey to becoming an author. But just for a quick get to know you, I want to give you a couple rapid fire questions if you don't mind. You ready? Okay.
Yeah, exciting.
Annotate or tab when you're reading?
Annotate.
Nice. Love triangle, yes or no?
Pens.
That's a fair answer.
that.
Morally gray men or golden retriever?
Do I have to choose? It depends on the day.
It's fair.
Also,
Fair.
for your answer, one word description of your book.
Ooh, discovery.
Great answer.
That.
Okay.
Love that.
If you were giving your book a scent, what would it smell like?
Are we talking the book that we're talking about, or any of?
That's a good question. Let's do Blood Bordeaux because we're going to dive into that today.
Okay. Well, I have to say cherry.
Cherry. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
I love it.
That
Awesome.
makes sense.
And because you are out and about and you talk to people about your books, what is one question you wish people would ask you?
That is a good question. I get a lot of crazy out there questions. I would say the question that I wish people would ask more is specifically about why I chose to write about older female main characters. I actually don't get that a whole lot, and I like that question.
It's a great question, and I hope we dive a little bit into that today. Was being an author something you always wanted to do?
I don't think I really, in the beginning, when I was younger, I don't think I ever thought of that as like, oh, that's what I want to be when I get older. or when I grew up. It was just something I was always doing. I think fairly soon after I learned how to read, I loved to read, and then I also started to write my own stories from a very young age. So it was something that I've always had a passion for since I was young. And so it's just kind of been one of those things that I'm like, oh, well, I can write novels and share stories with other people. What? This is an amazing gift.
I love it.
Awesome. So, would you say your first novels, did you write them as an adult? Did you have any novels that you wrote when you were younger?
Yes. So, yeah, my journey into writing started a long time ago. And my first book, I actually kept the title of it. So, my first series, The Tompkins School or Tompkins Academy. The first book was Tompkins School for the Extraordinarily Talented. I came up with that title when I was like 12. And the story that it was then, it's definitely not the story that it became, but I kept that title because it's mostly a reminder for myself to not give up because, I kind of, when you're younger, you're impressionable. And so I gave my novel to somebody who's older and I wanted feedback. And that was kind of my first introduction to the negative feedback that you're going to be inundated when you start sharing your stories with other people. So I kept that title as a reminder for myself to just keep going. And so in college is when that story just started to flourish. And that's how the Tompkins Academy trilogy kind of began.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you have any advice for moms or women like you who maybe have had writing as a side hobby or on the back burner and might want to bring it to life a little bit more on how to make it happen?
Yeah, I would say just writing whenever you can. I think the biggest thing that hinders us as writers and as moms, one is time and
Yes.
energy. So that's going to shift and change with each time. And, different stages of your life, it's going to be easier to find that time, and other stages, it's going to be harder. And just kind of writing when you can, but then when you set that time, honor it and honor it like it is a commitment because it is a relationship with you and your word. So just honor it as much as you can.
Yeah, that's great advice. I love that.
That is good advice.
Very cool. I was thinking as you were talking about that, there was an author I saw on Instagram one time. She had a picture of like her little keyboard where she was working on some writing and her toddler had like scribbled all over it. And she was like, side note, don't mind the artwork from my son here. And I thought that was super relatable. I'm sure you've had moments like that too.
I love that. Yeah, that's real for sure.
So great. Well, we would love to have you introduce readers to the world of Blood and Bordeaux. So I probably should say before we get too much further in the conversation, Tabitha's written several books, as she's explained. We're mainly going to focus our conversation today on Blood and Bordeaux, and we're still going to try and keep it spoiler free in case you haven't had the chance to read it yet. Just moving forward, that's our plan. But Tabitha, would you mind giving us your expert explanation of this world?
So, Blood and Bordeaux, it follows a recently divorced Dampierre who is falsely arrested. And in order to win back her freedom, she's forced to compete in the deadly vampire court games under the watchful eye of an incubus crime lord who just might be her undoing. So that is my short little intro into Blood and Bordeaux.
Love it.
Love that.
One thing that immediately drew Whitney and I to Blood and Bordeaux when we were speaking with you was your female main character, Iris. So can you tell us more about her and why she's so special to you?
Yes, she's really, I think, important, especially during the time that I wrote her story, because she represents resilience. I wrote her when I needed somebody to show me how can you be resilient. And I know that most of what she's going through, it's fictional. It's a fictional world. It's a fictional Pharaoh. But this is where we can explore hard topics in a fun and really fantastical environment. And she faces her fears that I struggled with, of the fear of never having her own body again after kids. And when she did, how would she really try to figure out what that means? The fear of losing a future relationship with your kid. All these different fears that don't really talk about. She faces them and she leverages them to grow in this new life. And she also rediscovers parts of herself that she forgot along the way, the hunter she used to be. And I like to think that these little forgotten dreams are things that we can pick up later on, no matter how old we are.
That. And I love what you said about how we can face some hard things in our life in a fun way by reading these books. I think that's what drew Whitney and I to the romantasy genre, is finding little remedies in these stories that we can glean from it and implement in our own life. And I love, there were definitely some moments with Iris with that I really appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. And when we met you at the Get Booked Ball and you actually had your book with you, that was so fun. I remember you mentioning that your female main character was a mom, that she was middle-aged. And so, of course, that piqued my interest because I'm sure in the reading you've done in this genre, a lot of the female main characters, as much as I love them, are like 20 years old. So it's a little harder to relate to them sometimes. And it was cool to be able to identify with so much of what Iris was going through. I loved that.
I think our immediate reaction when you said she's middle-aged, we were both like, oh, tell us more.
Tell us more,
Tell me
please.
more.
It was perfect because, it was a story that I wanted to read, and I absorb as much fantasy as I can. And I do see that there's a little bit of a gap in there. And there are some really other great fantasy novels out there with a little bit older female main characters. And I read those as much. They're mostly contemporary, set in a human world, but not a lot in the Fae realm. And so I definitely was excited that you guys were excited about it too, because I'm like, yes,
We were.
Yes,
Yes, piqued our
absolutely.
interest right away.
Absolutely. Well, and you kind of mentioned this when you were introducing us to the world of Blood and Bordeaux a few minutes ago, but there were actually some fantasy characters or types of fantasy characters that were new for me in this book, like the Dampier, the Incubus. I haven't seen that in other fantasy books. And so I thought that was really unique to Blood and Bordeaux as well. Not just that it was a middle-aged FMC, but some different types of fantasy characters.
yeah, I, as you might have been able to tell from this book, I like to write about a lot of different types of Fae and a lot of different types of shifters and put them in a room together and see what happens.
Why not? Just bring everybody to the party.
Yes.
That's great. Well, and speaking of an incubus, let's talk about our new book boyfriend, Craven. What were some things that inspired Craven's character? We've talked a lot about Iris and kind of what inspired her, but tell us about what inspired Craven.
So Craven originated as one of these more antagonistic characters that were more or less in the background of the first book. And as I was writing Closet Cocktails, that's really how his character kind of grew. Because in order to write about actually most characters, you kind of have to think about, oh, what is their backstory? What is their why? And the more that I was writing his character in Closet Cocktails, again, he's just more of a minor character that does become more prominent. I was like, I really like this character. So he grew on me. So I was like, okay, yes, he's going to be my main male character in book 2. The reason why he's an incubus, I think it was just because I have a succubus that will be in a future book in this series. And so I'm like, oh, well, maybe let's do the opposite. Let's do that. And that's how that wound up being Craven the Incubus.
I love it.
Very
I think
cool.
it's so fun to listen to authors like yourself talk about how characters come to them. It's not that you're always creating them. It's like the characters are coming to you and telling you their story. And I love that. I think it's so fun to listen to you guys and your thought process behind it. It's so interesting to me.
Yeah, because sometimes when I listen to writers, it sounds almost very intentional, mathematical, the way you guys plan things out. And then other times it seems like it's very, I don't know what the right word is for this. It's very just inspiration driven. It kind of just comes to you and has a mind of its own. And do you feel like your writing process leans one way or the other, or is it both of those things coming together?
To answer, it comes in shifts. I think that in the beginning, like, you're mostly writing early on from that pure inspiration, but then that's where a lot of the writing ends up in writer's block because you haven't quite. Now there's people who don't plot out there at all and they do amazing. I'm not one of those people, but when my inspiration runs out or when, my muse is not speaking to me, I like to have a plan too that I can fall back to just because I do treat this as, important appointment with myself that I can write. But there are certain characters like Craven that just start, I know this is going to sound really weird, but they start speaking to you like they have, their own life force. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm doing that today.
Oh, I love
No,
it.
it's not weird because you're not the first writer I've listened to who's talked about that. I think in the interview with SJM, she talked about that, how things would just kind of like line up and inspiration would strike and even it would detour from what she had planned. And I've other authors have said the same. So I don't think that's weird at all. I think that speaks to how much of this is like an art form and not just planning things out. Right. So
I'm glad I'm not alone.
no, you're in good company.
Yay, perfect.
So cool. Are there any other characters besides Iris and Craven who are favorites from Blood and Bordeaux for you?
For me, I really liked Namine's character.
Okay.
She was one that also kind of surprised me. And I'm going to try to avoid spoilers because that was mentioned before.
It's hard. It's hard.
It is so hard. There were moments throughout the story that she became more prominent than I planned. And I definitely want to return to her at some point in the future.
Okay.
Just
Cool.
because I
That's exciting.
actually really love her. Yeah.
I love that.
Love that. There'll be many more books.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one of our goals at Romantasy Remedy is to highlight how books in this genre inspire readers. When we see characters facing fears, overcoming challenges, and growing into their potential, it helps us to do the same thing. So when we're reading, Kenzie and I are always looking for moments that either inspire, heal, humor, or even just woo us because it's romantasy and it's romantic like that. But for example, one of my Romantasy remedies from Blood and Bordeaux is that I loved the relationship between Iris and her daughter Lilia. Am I pronouncing that how you would pronounce it?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect. Sometimes pronunciations are a struggle, so thank you.
I know. Yes.
But I really loved that mother-daughter relationship, and I connected with Iris's desire to strengthen it. And I also appreciated how it was thinking of her daughter or the relationship with her daughter that often kept Iris grounded or helped her find that extra bit of courage she needed to overcome a challenge. There was one moment in particular where she is defending Lilia, and this is what it said. Determination stifled Iris's fear as she pulled Lilia behind her. And then just a little bit later, it says, I think this is Iris now saying, acting bravely didn't mean avoiding fear, though. It meant doing what was needed despite being afraid. So I loved that moment and that quote specifically. And the idea that Iris's love for her daughter was helping her move forward despite her fears, despite the challenges. Again, as a mother, this is something I can really relate to. And ever since, my oldest was born, I feel like I've been nervous or afraid for my kids every single day. And it was cool to see how Iris kind of reframed that and channeled it into something helpful and inspiring and strengthening, and just such a great lesson and reminder. So that's why I picked that as my Romantasy remedy from this book. So thank you, Iris, and thank you, Tabitha, for writing that. If you had to choose a remedy for you, Tabitha, as the author, what would it be from Blood and Bordeaux?
I would say that for Blood and Bordeaux, that remedy would be learning to discover yourself or rediscover yourself. And just like you pointed out, the confidence to face your fears and to overcome those obstacles that are keeping you from having the relationship that you want to have with those that you love. And sometimes that means healing the relationship that you have with yourself.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And kind of along with that, when we are looking for these remedies, we also try to pull out direct quotes and we kind of use them like affirmations, things that you can hang on your fridge or your mirror to inspire you or motivate you as you're going through your day. And as I was thinking about this idea with your book, Craven was the one who kept having all these great one-liners that I felt like I could write on my mirror if I needed a little pick-me-up. For example, there was one time he said to Iris, "You deserve to shine." And I thought that was a great affirmation. Are there any that come to mind? I know this is kind of putting you on the spot for a direct quote almost, but are there any lines that you can think of that would work as an affirmation from Blood and Bordeaux?
So one that I always come back to, and this is Craven. Probably one of one of my favorite characters that
Yeah.
to have written. It makes me nervous to write any other male characters, but I will.
That's funny.
But there are a few that I go back to that I still am like, oh, I get little goosebumps. One of them I know I've put on my Instagram posts and things, quotes from him, and it's one from a moment that is pretty pivotal to the shifting in their relationship. It's where Craven sees Iris's true power. I mean, he's always sensed that there's something different about her, but he didn't quite know what it was or how he felt about it until that moment. And he doesn't even say it out loud. It's just this thought. And the thought is she wasn't a puppet at all. She was a queen. And that's what I always love. I always love that because sometimes it might feel like in this world that we're props, that we're just doing the things that we're supposed to do. And it's a really reminder that, other people don't just see us that way. There are those people in our life that see us for who we truly are, and we have more power. And in that moment, that's when Craven's view of her shifts from just being somebody that would help him for his own gain. He sees her as a person that he wants to succeed for her own gain and to rally behind her. So that's my favorite moment.
I love that. So good. Thank you so much for bringing this story to life and these characters to life. It was so fun to read and so intriguing and something different, I think, for Whitney and I that we really enjoyed. And so thank you for making the time to talk to us about it. But I also want to ask, what future projects should we be looking forward to from Tabitha Slick? Is there anything coming?
Yes, I'm currently writing the third book in this series. The title is Wings and Whiskey, and this one,
Great.
yeah. So I have a theme, if you couldn't tell. And so this one is going to be a little bit different as far as the focus point. But the main character, she is a witch in the Fey realm, because as you know, there are humans in this Fey realm. I won't say any more. Spoiler alert, but read the book. But in this one, it's going to be a cozy fantasy romance, a little bit more of a lower stakes than Blood and Bordeaux, but also focusing on the target audience of women with infertility. I battled with infertility for almost a decade, and I know I wound up having a son through an embryo adoption, but only after I healed with myself, coming to terms with not having a biological child of my own. And it wasn't until then that I was ready to look into embryo adoption, and that I not have even been an option for me. That was a big miracle, the whole thing, the way that happened. But her character is special to me because it addresses somebody who is starting over in life in a different way and having to discover what the future holds as somebody who is in their midlife with no children or family and having to start over and rebuilding kind of a life in a different way than she originally thought. And also the fun part is she buys an inn, sight unseen. And it is a sentient inn. It comes with a grumpy dwarf and a dragon fae prince from the 1800s.
Oh my gosh.
He believes he's from the 1800s, and plot twist, he is, and she has to find a way to return him back to his time.
Sounds
That's
so
that story.
fun. Well, thank you for sharing that too. That's so brave of you, and it's so fun to see you put some of those into these books because I think it is very relatable for people that we don't always get to connect characters on that level. So thank you for putting those in. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I was going to say the same thing that Kenzie just said. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing some more pieces of your story that have inspired you to write these books. One of my favorite things about reading and about this genre is being able to see life experiences. It's kind of funny to say that because it's fantasy and they're not real life, but being able to see experiences that you can relate to that might be difficult or that you don't feel like other people understand. I just think that can be so healing and helpful for readers. So a lot of kudos to you for being brave and vulnerable and putting that into your work, and also being willing to share it with us tonight. Thank you so much. Definitely a good remedy.
Thanks for reading. I'm honored.
Oh my gosh, our
Happy
pleasure. Our
to.
pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm excited to spend some time with this sentiment
Yes.
in now.
That's I'm so excited about this in. Tell me more.
That's
Oh,
so
there's
cool.
lots of fun. Lots of fun in
So
store.
cool. So
Great.
cool. Well, before we wrap up this conversation, I want to know what books you've been reading. It sounds like you're busy writing, but I assume you still make some time to read. So,
Yeah.
what books have you been reading, or what books are on your TBR right now?
So I'm almost finished reading Betwixt by Dorinda Jones. I have only seen that word written, so I hope I pronounced that title of the book right, but I think
I
it's
get the
Betwixt.
struggle.
We support that pronunciation. That's
okay.
great. Go for
Thank
it.
you. It's a super fun book. I'm listening to the audiobook because my son is 3.
Understood.
Yes.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
I'm really hoping next to read Violet Thistlethwaite is Not a Villain Anymore. That one has been on my TBR for a while. That one's by Emily Krimpholtz. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Do you have any other recommendations for us? You'd mentioned earlier that there are some books out there with female main characters who are a little bit older. I would love to know what some of those are. So if you have any recommendations, please do share.
Well, I am almost done reading Betwixt, and
Okay.
it does have an older female main character.
Okay.
Mostly I've been bouncing between Dorinda Jones and some others that I see on Instagram or Goodreads, but it is good. It's fun. It's fun and cozy, and I like seeing that there's an older female main character.
Awesome.
Cool. I'll add that to my TBR then.
Yes, yes. Well, thanks again, Tabitha. It was so much fun to have you on Romantasy Remedy. Just a quick reminder for our listeners that our next episode will be available on Friday, May 22nd, when we will be covering The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. Until then, happy reading.
Thanks. Bye.